My brother's son snatched my daughter's gold medal and threw it into the gutter and said, "Poor kids don't win here." My brother just watched. I said nothing, took my daughter home and made one call. But when my brother saw the name on his screen, his face went white. The medal hit the storm drain grate with the sound of something small and gold bouncing off iron. A bright flash against the rusted bars, then it slipped through the gap and dropped into the dark below the curb. The lanyard, red and white with Louisville Junior Track Championship printed along the ribbon, caught on the grate edge and hung there like a flag someone had stopped carrying. My daughter Shay was standing 6 feet from the drain, with her right hand on her collarbone where the medal had been 3 seconds earlier. 12 years old. She had won the 400-meter final the previous Saturday and had not taken the medal off since. 7 days of wearing the things she earned. 7 days that ended in my parents' backyard on a Saturday afternoon in June. My nephew Trey had walked up behind her at the dessert table, grabbed the lanyard with one hand, yanked it over her head, and thrown its sidearm toward the street. One motion. 14 years old and grinning. "Poor kids don't win here." He said it loud enough for the 9 people in the backyard to hear. My mother Bev stopped arranging plates on the folding table. My father Merle looked up from the grill for half a second, then looked back down at the coals. My brother Garrett heard it from the lawn chair where he was sitting with a Corona in his right hand and his phone in his left. Garrett did not stand up. He took a drink, set the bottle on the armrest. Looked at me. "Relax." She ran 400 meters on a rubber track against girls who train in their backyards. You crawl through attic insulation 60 hours a week pulling cable nobody sees, and you want a party for a city meet? Trey plays travel baseball in 3 states. Coaches call me. Scouts come to his games. Nobody is scouting Shay's 2-minute lap around an oval Knox. The metal is zinc. It turns green in a month. Kind of like everything you touch. 9 people heard it. Bev folded a napkin. Merle flipped a burger. My cousin Jolene looked at her hands on the porch swing. Garrett's wife Deanne scrolled her phone. Nobody moved towards Shay. Nobody picked up the lanyard from the grate. I set my plate on the picnic table. I walked to Shay. I took her hand. We went through the side gate to my truck. She climbed in and pulled the door shut. I drove. The drive from my parents' place in Okolona to our house in Germantown takes 14 minutes. Shay did not speak for the first 11. "He threw it, Dad." "I know." "It went through the bars." "I heard it hit the water. I know where it went." "Are we going back for it?" "Tonight, after dark." Flashlight and channel locks. She looked out the window for the last 3 minutes. A 12-year-old deciding whether to ask the next question or leave it in the truck. She left it in the truck. At home, I made her a grilled cheese because the cookout did not feed her. She ate at the kitchen table with her right hand still touching her collarbone every few minutes, checking for something that was no longer there. Welcome to Family Secret Tales, where the electrician who wired his brother's rental empire for free just watched his daughter's championship medal get destroyed by the nephew who sleeps in a building the electrician wired. If your family has ever trashed something your child earned and told you to relax, subscribe now. Because the title says, "One call, and the call goes to a man whose name turns faces white." My name is Knox Farrow. I am 37 years old. I am a licensed journeyman electrician at River City Electric in Louisville, Kentucky. I wire residential and commercial buildings across Jefferson County. I pull cable, run conduit, install breaker boxes, mount fixtures, and troubleshoot systems that other contractors installed wrong. My license number is JE0814. I earn $68,000 a year, and I have been doing this for 16 years, since I was 21 and fresh out of trade school. Penn Aldrich taught me the trade. My foreman. 50 years old. Master electrician for 24 years. The year I started, I showed up for my first solo panel job at a house in Shively. The homeowner was watching me from the kitchen. My hands were shaking so hard I almost stripped the wrong wire. Penn walked in, saw the tremor, and did not say anything about it to the homeowner. He waited until the homeowner went upstairs. Then he stood beside me, put his left hand over my right, and held it flat against the panel cover. We stood there for maybe 10 seconds. My hand stopped shaking under his. Steady hands, steady work. He let go, stepped back, and watched me finish the panel without another word. After the job, he drove me to a diner on Dixie Highway and bought me coffee and said one more thing. Every electrician's hands shake the first time. The ones who last are the ones who find the reason to stop shaking. I have pulled cable in attics at 130 degrees and rewired panels in crawl spaces with 18 inches of clearance. My hands have not shaken since that day in Shively. Penn is the person I called from my driveway at 6:15 p.m., parked with Shay inside, finishing her sandwich. Trey threw it in the storm drain, grabbed the lanyard off her neck and threw its sidearm. Garrett watched from a lawn chair and told me to relax. 3 seconds of quiet. Then Penn, flat and direct, you wired every building he owns. Every panel, every circuit, every permit has your license number on it. Pull the permits, Knox. Let the permits remind him whose name keeps his tenants' lights on. Penn was right. And before I explain what I did with the permits, let me explain what my family does not know about what I fund. Garrett owns 4 rental duplexes on Bone Avenue in the Newburgh neighborhood. He bought them 3 years ago with a $210,000 business loan. His credit score was 560. The minimum for the loan was 640. The gap between 560 and 640 was my signature on the cosign. Without my credit, the bank would have rejected the application on the first page. I wired all 4 buildings, 16 units total. Each building needed a full electrical overhaul when Garrett bought them, new 200-amp service panels, dedicated circuits for every unit, GFCI protection in kitchens and bathrooms, arc fault breakers in bedrooms, smoke detector wiring, exterior lighting, and code-compliant junction boxes throughout. I pulled the permits under my license. I passed the inspections. I did the work on weekends and evenings after my regular shifts. Over 3 years, I put in roughly 700 hours of labor. At my standard side job rate of $65 an hour, that work is valued at over $46,000. Garrett told me on the day I started the first building that he would make it right when the rental income stabilized. I kept timesheets for every weekend and evening I worked, the way I keep timesheets for every job. The income stabilized after 8 months. Garrett never brought up payment again. I never pressed it. The timesheet stayed in my filing cabinet. The labor was my investment in my brother's word, and the word was never honored. Garrett collects $1,600 a month per duplex from his tenants. 4 buildings, $6,400 per month, $76,800 a year. From buildings whose electrical systems were installed for free by the brother he told to relax. On top of the rental income, Garrett earns $88,000 at his pharmaceutical sales job. Combined, $164,800 a year. From the man who watched his 14-year-old throw a gold medal into a gutter and called it a city meet. I also cover my parents' internet and cable at $155 a month. 3 years, $5,580. Merle's cell phone runs on my family plan at $90 a month. 2 years, $160. Garrett's rental property insurance is bundled under my umbrella policy at $320 a month. 2 years, $7,680. Total invisible support, $62,220 in direct payments and donated labor, plus the cosign exposure on a $210,000 loan. My ex-wife Cora lives in Lexington. She calls Shay on Wednesdays and sends $480 on the first. The rest is mine. Every 6M Saturday drive to the track at Seneca Park. Every pair of spikes when the old ones wear through. Every entry fee. Every meal she eats, including the grilled cheese I made her in the truck cab because the cookout classified her as a girl whose metal was not worth picking up off the street. The favoritism in this family is measured in reactions. When Garrett graduated college, Merle threw a party at the VFW hall. 40 people. Open bar. A banner that read "Congratulations, Garrett" stretched across the back wall. When I finished trade school and earned my journeyman license, Bev said, "Good. Now you have benefits. No party. No banner. No toast. Benefits? The word you use when someone passes a licensing exam and the passing is useful to you, but not worth celebrating. When Trey made the travel baseball team, Bev posted 11 photos on Facebook. The caption said, "Our future all-star." Garrett pays $4,200 per season for Trey's travel baseball. Tournament fees, uniforms, hotel rooms across 3 states. Nobody in the family calls that excessive. When Shea placed second at the regional track meet 3 months earlier, which cost a $40 entry fee and a Saturday morning drive, Bev texted me one line, "Tell her congrats." No photos. No post. $4,200 gets 11 photos. $40 gets a text. Shea won the 400-meter gold at the Louisville Junior Track Championship the Saturday before the cookout. 14 months of training with Coach Mattis at Seneca Park. 3 mornings a week at 6 a.m. She ran the final in 59.2 seconds against 43 runners and won by 4 meters. The medal was gold-plated on a red and white lanyard. It was hers. The winning was not a 2-minute jog around an oval. The winning was 14 months of alarm clocks at 5:30, shin splints taped before practice, and the discipline to run the last 100 meters without looking at the lane beside her, because looking costs 1/10 of a second, and 1/10 of a second separates gold from silver. I was at the finish line with my phone recording. When Shea crossed, she did not raise her arms or scream. She put her hands on her knees and breathed. Then she looked up, found me in the crowd behind the chain-link fence, and gave me a nod. Not a wave, not a smile. A nod. The nod of a 12-year-old who worked for something and got it and does not need to perform the getting. The coordinator put the medal around her neck at center field. Shea held it in her palm for a moment, turned it over, looked at the back, and tucked it under her shirt. She wore it under her shirt for the rest of the day and then over her shirt for the next 6 days until a cousin tore it off her neck at a family cookout. When I told Bev about the championship on the phone that evening, she said, "That's nice. Is she eating enough?" 2 words about the gold. 4 words about her weight. That night, after Shea fell asleep, I drove back to Okolona. Midnight, I parked on the street near my parents' house and walked to the storm drain with a flashlight and a pair of 10-inch channel lock pliers. The medal was sitting on a concrete ledge 6 inches below the grate, caught where the drain pipe narrows. The lanyard was in the water below, soaked dark. I pulled the grate, reached in, and lifted the medal out. The face had a scratch from hitting the iron bars. One edge had already started turning green from the moisture. I did not polish it. I put it in my jacket pocket and drove home. Monday after school, Shea told me something that changed the shape of the entire weekend. "Trey said it at school too, Dad, 3 weeks ago at lunch. He told 3 kids at our table that your dad is a wire puller and your medal won't count because city meets don't matter." 3 weeks. The phrase was not invented at the cookout. Trey had been carrying it for 3 weeks, which means he learned it at a table where the adults discussed their brother and his daughter's track career. The phrase was manufactured at Garrett's dinner table, tested at a school cafeteria, and performed at a family event. Sunday morning. I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and opened the Jefferson County Building Permit portal. My license number is attached to every electrical permit I have ever pulled. I plan to file formal withdrawal requests on Garrett's 4 duplex addresses, citing unauthorized modifications by the property owner after my certified inspections. That would trigger mandatory reinspection of all 4 properties before tenants could remain. I found the 4 permits. All clean. My license number. My signatures on the inspection sign-offs. Then I found a 5th. Permit number 2024 LO3891. Filed January 14 of this year. Address 3407 Boney Avenue, Unit B. The same block as Garrett's 4th duplex. The permit was for electrical service installation in a garage conversion to habitable rental space. Listed on the permit as the certifying electrician, license number JE0814. My number. I did not file this permit. I have never been inside 3407 Bonnet Avenue, Unit B. I did not wire it. I did not inspect it. I did not sign the application. The permit specifications listed wire gauges that do not match the circuit ratings. Specifically, the application called for 14-gauge wire on 20-amp circuits. Any licensed electrician knows that combination violates the National Electrical Code. The wire is too thin for the current. Whoever filled out this application did not understand that. No electrician made this filing. A property owner pretending to be an electrician made it. I called Penn. Pull up permit 2024 L03891 on the county portal. 40 seconds of keyboard tapping. Then Penn's voice, hard and flat. That handwriting is not yours. The panel spec is wrong. You would never sign off on that. Somebody used your license number without your consent. Knox, that is fraud. Penn was right. He asked me one more question before he hung up. How long has the tenant been in there? Permit was filed in January. If someone moved in within a month, they have been sleeping above bad wiring for 5 months. On 14-gauge. On 14-gauge. Knox, if that circuit arcs and someone gets hurt, the county does not come looking for Garrett. They come looking for the license number on the permit. That is your number. That is your career. That is your insurance. Make the call today. My license number is attached to a permit I never filed, for a unit I never wired, with specifications that violate the National Electrical Code in a building my brother owns. If a tenant is living there and an electrical fire starts, the permit says I certified the system. The liability falls on me. The call was not optional. It was self-defense. I almost did not make the call. Pulling permits triggers inspections. Inspections can displace tenants. Tenants are people who have nothing to do with a thrown metal or a brother's contempt. But the junction box stopped me. The open junction box that the wrong gauge permit implied. The junction box in a ceiling above somebody's bed, wired with undersized cable on a circuit designed to carry more current than the wire can handle. That is not a family dispute. That is a fire waiting for a Tuesday night. Monday morning, 8:15 a.m. I called the Jefferson County Fire Marshal's office and asked for Lieutenant Becerra, the commercial properties investigator. I identified myself as the licensed electrician on record for 4 duplex properties at Bonnet Avenue and reported 2 concerns. First, the property owner had made unauthorized modifications to the electrical systems after my original inspections, and I was withdrawing my certified sign-offs. Second, permit 2024 L03891 at 3407 Bonnet Avenue Unit B was filed under my license number without my knowledge or consent, with specifications that violate code, for a garage conversion I never inspected. Becerra asked one question. Is the converted unit occupied? I believe so. The permit was filed in January, if a tenant moved in. They have been living with wiring I never certified on an overloaded circuit for 5 months. I will inspect all 5 addresses this week. I will contact the property owner directly. 1 call. That was the call. Everything that followed was not a call. It was paperwork. Administrative cancellations that any account holder can submit online in 10 minutes. The call was the fire marshal. The call was the one that mattered. The rest was just pulling the financial scaffolding out from under a family that thought the scaffolding was permanent. I almost left the insurance active. Garrett has a family. But the lawn chair stopped me. The image of a man who did not stand up while his son threw a metal into the street. The image made the cancellation easy. I removed Garrett's rental property insurance from my umbrella policy. $320 a month. His individual rate would jump to $540. I called the internet provider and canceled my parents' account. $155 a month. I removed Merle's phone from my family plan. $90 a month. 3 calls in 40 minutes. I almost kept the internet running for Merle. He watches the evening news every night, but the grill stopped me. Merle was standing 10 feet from the drain when it happened. He looked up for half a second, then went back to the coals. Half a second. the internet can go dark. If you are following this story on Family Secret Tales, hit subscribe now. The fire marshal is calling. Monday, 2:14 p.m. Garrett was at his desk at the pharmaceutical sales office in downtown Louisville when his phone buzzed. The caller ID showed a name he recognized. LT M. Becerra/Jeff. CO. Fire Marshal. His face went white. I know this because Garrett's office has a glass wall facing the hallway, and his colleague Naomi told Penn's wife at a neighborhood gathering 2 weeks later that Garrett stared at his phone for 6 seconds before answering. When he picked up, his voice was higher than normal. This is Lieutenant Becerra with the Jefferson County Fire Marshal's office. I need to schedule mandatory inspections of your rental properties at 3401, 3403, 3405, and 3407 Boney Avenue, including Unit B at 3407. We have a formal complaint from the licensed electrician of record regarding unauthorized modifications and a permit irregularity. Inspections are scheduled for Thursday at 2 p.m. You are required to provide access to all units. Garrett spent Tuesday and Wednesday calling attorneys. 2 real estate lawyers in Louisville told him the same thing. A fire marshal inspection triggered by an electrician of record complaint is mandatory under KR's 227. The property owner cannot refuse access. The property owner cannot delay the schedule. The attorneys could help him respond after the inspection. They could not stop it. Thursday, 2 p.m. Boney Avenue. The street was quiet on a warm afternoon. A mail carrier was 3 houses down. A dog was barking in a fenced yard across the road. The kind of street where nothing happens on a Thursday afternoon except rent collection and lawn mowing. Becerra arrived in a county vehicle, white Ford Explorer, with a fire marshal's seal on the door. He parked in front of 3407 and opened a clipboard with the 5 permit files. I was there. As the license holder whose permits were under review, I had a legal right and obligation to be present. I stood near my truck with a manila folder containing the 5 permit printouts. 3 years of unpaid labor documentation, and the forged 5th permit highlighted in yellow. 3 tenants came outside. Mrs. Pham from 345A stood on the sidewalk with her arms crossed. A younger man from 3403B leaned against the stair railing. An older couple from 3401A watched from their front door. They saw the fire marshal's vehicle, the electrician with a folder, and the growing understanding that something was wrong with the buildings they paid rent to live in. Garrett pulled up at 212. Silver Lexus RX. He got out with his jaw clenched and his hands in his pockets. He saw me. He stopped walking. What are you doing here? I am the electrician of record on every permit for every building you own on this street. My license number is on every panel, every circuit, every junction box, including Unit B at 3407, the unit I never wired. Becerra stepped forward. Mr. Farrow, I need access to Unit B at 3407 first. The permit lists license number JE08814 as the certifying electrician, but the license holder states he did not file the permit and has never inspected the unit. Garrett's eyes went from me to Becerra to the clipboard to the tenants on the sidewalk. There has been a misunderstanding. My contractor filed that permit. I gave him Knox's information because Knox handles all my electrical work. It was an oversight. It was not an oversight. I opened the folder. I have never been inside 3407 Unit B. I did not file permit 2024 LO3891. The handwriting on the application is not mine. The wire specifications violate code in a way that no licensed electrician would certify. Someone used my license number to file a permit I never authorized for a unit I never wired. That is license fraud under Kentucky Revised Statutes 227-991. Mrs. Pham pulled out her phone and began recording. She did not hide it. She held the phone at chest height with the screen facing Garrett. The man from 3403B unfolded his arms and stood straight, his weight shifting forward the way a person shifts when they realize the conversation in front of them is about the building they sleep in. The couple from 3401A stepped fully onto the sidewalk. The husband put his hand on his wife's shoulder. A neighbor from across the street, a woman walking a dog, stopped on the opposite curb and watched. Becerra wrote something on his clipboard. The pen scratching on paper was the only sound on the block for 3 seconds. I looked at Garrett. 5 witnesses, a fire marshal, and a brother who built his rental income on free labor from the man he told to relax. Here is what you did. You took my license number and filed a permit for a garage conversion I never agreed to. You turned a garage into a rental unit with wiring that violates code. You put a tenant in a space I never inspected, with circuits overloaded by design, and if that wiring fails, my license gets revoked. My insurance gets voided. 16 years of my career disappear because you wanted $1. $100 a month from a unit you could not legally rent without my name on the permit. And that is just Unit B. The 4 buildings I actually wired, every hour is documented. Every panel in every unit on this street carries my license number. And while I was wiring your buildings for free, your son threw my daughter's metal into the street and you told me to relax. Lieutenant Becerra is inspecting all 5 properties today. The rental licenses are suspended until re-inspection is complete. The forged permit is being referred to the state licensing board and the county attorney. I am filing a formal complaint for license fraud. I have notified your lender that the collateral properties for your $210,000 loan have code violations and an active fire marshal investigation. Your insurance on my umbrella policy was canceled Monday. Your rate is back to $540 a month. Mom and Dad's internet is canceled. Dad's phone is off my plan. And the $46,000 in labor you said you would make right when the income stabilized? The income stabilized 2 years ago. I have the timesheets for every hour. The invoice goes out Monday. Garrett's jaw went slack. The clenching was gone. His right hand came out of his pocket and hung at his side with the fingers slightly open, the way a hand hangs when the body forgets it has hands. His shoulders dropped. The color left his face, starting at his forehead and moving downward, the blood pulling away from the skin and going somewhere deeper. He held his breath for 4 seconds. His eyes moved across the permit pages in my folder without reading the words. I will pay for the metal. I will buy her a new one. Gold, not zinc. The metal is not for sale. The contractor must have filed the wrong license number. It was a mistake. There is no contractor on file for Unit B. The permit application lists the property owner as the applicant. Your name. My license number. Your handwriting. Not a mistake. You are going to put my tenants on the street? Over a cookout? Over a forged permit that puts my license at risk? Over a tenant living above wiring that can arc? Over 9 people who watched and said nothing? The tenants are safe. The fire marshal will make sure of that. You are not safe. He tried one more. His voice lower now, almost a whisper so the tenants would not hear. Sign the unit over to me clean. Take Unit B. Transfer it. I will give you the rental income from that one property. I do not want your illegal unit. I want my license clean, my name off your loan paperwork, and my daughter's metal hanging where it belongs. I closed the folder. The permits have my name. The fraud has yours. The fire marshal has both. The metal is zinc. Garrett, your rental income is 0. 23 words. Delivered at 2:31 p.m. on a sidewalk in Newburgh in front of 3 tenants, a fire marshal, and a brother whose face had not recovered its color. The words landed flat because steady hands do steady work, and the steadiest work I ever did was the phone call that put my brother's rental empire on a clipboard. Becerra inspected all 5 properties that afternoon. The 4 duplexes I had wired passed the inspection with notations for Garrett's unauthorized modifications. 2 bathroom exhaust fans installed without permits. A hot tub circuit at 3403 without GFCI protection, and a basement light at 3405 that bypassed the breaker panel. Each notation required corrective work by a licensed electrician before the rental licenses could be reinstated. At standard Louisville rates, the repairs would cost between $4,200 and $6,800. Garrett would need to hire someone at full price. Unit B, at 3407, failed. The wiring specifications matched the fraudulent permit and violated code. The junction box in the converted garage ceiling was uncovered, with live wire nuts visible above the drywall lip. Becerra issued a condemnation notice. The tenant, a 26-year-old graduate student named David, was given 7 days to vacate. David stopped me in the parking lot after the inspection. He was carrying a laundry basket with textbooks in it. Did you know about the wiring? I did not wire that unit. I never set foot inside it until today. Someone used my license to file the permit. I've been sleeping in there since February. 5 months. I know. The junction box was 6 feet above my bed. He did not say anything else. He put the laundry basket in his car and drove away. I watched the car turn left at the end of the block. David was not my problem. David was not Garrett's problem either, in Garrett's mind. David was $1,100 a month. David was a number on a spreadsheet in a building whose wiring was signed by a brother who never saw the building. David deserved better. Everybody in this story deserved better, except the people who built the permits and the phrases and the systems that put a 12-year-old's metal in the gutter and a 26-year-old's bed above exposed wires. Garrett's rental income stopped. All 5 addresses suspended pending reinspection or condemnation clearance. $7,500 a month in revenue. Gone his fixed costs remained, $850 loan payment, $540 insurance at the new individual rate, $1,200 property tax escrow, $400 in maintenance reserves, $3,990 a month in obligations with 0 rental income. His pharmaceutical take-home after taxes was approximately $5,600. The property costs consumed 71% of it. The remaining 29% had to cover his personal mortgage, car payment, groceries, Deanne's expenses, and Trey's travel baseball. There was no margin. There was a cliff. The bank that held the $210,000 business loan received my written notification Wednesday. I informed them that the collateral properties had pending fire marshal violations, a condemned unit, and suspended rental licenses. The commercial lending department opened a loan review. Garrett received a call from the loan officer Thursday asking for updated documentation of property condition and rental income status. He could not provide it because the income was 0, and the condition included a condemned unit with a forged permit. Penn forwarded me a screenshot Saturday morning. Friday afternoon, a post had appeared in the St. Andrews Neighborhood Community Group on Facebook. Mrs. Pham's daughter wrote, "Fire marshal at Bone Ave Rentals yesterday. Anyone know what happened? They were at 3407 for a long time." 42 comments by Saturday morning. One neighbor confirmed seeing the county vehicle. Another mentioned the tenant at Unit B moving boxes into a U-Haul at 7 a.m. A third asked whether the landlord had been cited. A fourth posted a photo of the condemned notice visible through the window of Unit B. The photo got shared twice. Garrett's pharmaceutical territory covers South Louisville. 3 of his pharmacy contacts live within 2 miles of Bonet Avenue. One of them, a pharmacist named Dr. Quan at the Rite Aid on Taylor Boulevard, sent Garrett a text Saturday afternoon, "Saw the post about your rentals. Everything okay?" Garrett did not respond. His district manager called Monday morning and asked if there were any issues at home that might affect your availability. Garrett said no. The manager said he had seen the Facebook post through a mutual connection and wanted to make sure Garrett's schedule would not be disrupted. The manager did not accuse Garrett of anything. He did not need to. The asking was the watching. Merle's internet went dark Sunday evening. He was watching the Channel 11 news when the screen cut to a blue no-signal bar. Bev's cooking stream on YouTube froze mid-recipe. The $155 a month that had kept both screens running was the electrician's money, and the electrician had pulled the plug. Merle opened his own account the following week at $128 plus a $75 installation fee. He did not add streaming. Streaming was extra. Merle's phone stopped working Monday morning. His barber called to confirm a Tuesday appointment and reached a number not in service recording. Merle drove to a prepaid store and bought a phone for $35 a month. He spent the afternoon copying numbers from a paper address book he kept in the kitchen drawer. The address book was 14 years old. Several of the numbers were disconnected. Saturday evening. Garrett drove to 3407 Bonet Avenue. Unit B. He let himself in with the key. The tenant had finished moving out that morning. The space was empty. A mattress outline was pressed into the carpet. The kitchen counter had a strip of blue painter's tape with a forwarding address written in ballpoint pen. The ceiling fixture had been removed during the inspection, leaving an open junction box with 2 wire nuts visible above the drywall lip. The condemned notice was taped to the inside of the front door. White paper, county seal, red do not occupy stamp. The room smelled like fresh drywall dust and the particular stillness of a space that was occupied 24 hours ago and is not occupied now. A power strip sat in the corner, plugged into the wall, powering nothing. The bathroom faucet dripped at a rhythm of 1 drop every 4 seconds. Garrett did not fix it. Fixing things was not his skill. Fixing things was his brother's skill, and his brother was done fixing things for free. Garrett sat on the floor against the wall with his knees up and his phone in his hand. He opened the calculator app and typed the numbers he already knew. $3,990 in monthly property costs. $0 in rental income. $5,600 in take-home pay. The calculator showed what the calculator always shows. The math. The math did not require an electrician. The math required only subtraction, and the subtraction left $1,610 a month for a personal mortgage, a car payment, a family of 3, and a travel baseball schedule that costs $4,200 per season. The number was red, not on the screen. On the screen, it was just a number. But in the room where the number was calculated, in the condemned unit that a forged permit built, the number was red. Wednesday evening, 11 days after the cookout. 7:40 p.m., the doorbell rang. I opened the front door, and Bev was on the porch with Trey beside her. Trey was wearing a collared shirt that Bev had buttoned for this visit. The shirt meant the apology was staged. Trey has something to say to Shay. Shay was in her room with the door closed. I did not call her. I stood in the doorway and waited. Trey looked at the porch boards. I am sorry I threw your medal. It was wrong. He said it to me, not to Shay. Shay was not there to hear it. The apology was delivered to a father's chest by a 14-year-old whose grandmother had driven him across town and dressed him in a collared shirt for the occasion. The words were correct. The audience was wrong. And the delivery was a performance managed by a woman who needed the performance to produce a result. Bev looked at me. Garrett is losing everything. Knox. The tenants are leaving. The bank is reviewing his loan. He has not slept since Thursday. Merle has not eaten a full meal in a week. Call the fire marshal. Tell him it was a misunderstanding. Pull back the complaint. Garrett is your brother. He forged my license number on a permit I never filed. He put a tenant in a unit with wiring that violates code. If that wiring had failed, my license would have been revoked, my insurance voided, my career finished. That is not a family argument, Mom. That is fraud. And the fire marshal does not take complaints back because a mother asks. He made a mistake. I walked to the kitchen counter, picked up the printed copy of Permit 2024 LO3891, and handed it to Bev. This is the permit for Unit B at 3407 Boney Avenue. My license number is on it. I have never been inside that building. The handwriting is not mine. Show it to him. He knows what it means. Bev looked at the page. She did not understand the technical details, but she understood the shape. An official document with one son's address, the other son's license number, and a county seal. The shape was enough. This is the last favor, the last payment, the last wire I pull for this family. The insurance is done. The internet is done. The phone is done. The labor is done. If Garrett needs an electrician, He can hire one at $65 an hour. The family rate is over. Bev took the document and walked Trey to the car. The taillights turned left at the end of the block and disappeared toward Okolona. I closed the door. 3 weeks later, Saturday morning, July 5th, I drove Shay to track practice at Seneca Park at 7, and the same way I had driven her for 14 months. East on Goss, south on Shelby, the road's quiet at 6:45. Because Saturday mornings in Louisville belong to the runners and the people who drive them to the starting line. After practice, we came home. Shay went to shower. I went to my workshop in the detached garage behind the house. My workbench sits against the back wall under a pegboard that holds my tools in the order I use them. Voltmeter on the left, wire strippers next to it, lineman's pliers, needle nose, channel locks, tape measure, torpedo level. 16 years of tools arranged by the hands that use them. The gold medal hung on a hook between the voltmeter and the wire strippers. The lanyard had been washed, but the ribbon was still faded. The face had a scratch from the grate. One edge carried a faint green tint where the plating had oxidized. I had not polished it. The scratch and the green were the history. At 3407 Bone Avenue, Unit B, a condemned notice hung on the door of an empty room with carpet dents where a bed had stood, and an open junction box in the ceiling where a light should have been. The rental income from 5 properties, 0. The loan review, pending. The corrective electrical work, $6,800, payable to a licensed electrician at full price, because the electrician who used to do it for free was done. In my workshop, the metal hung next to the voltmeter. The thing my daughter earned and the tools her father uses to earn a living. Both on the same pegboard. Both kept. Shay appeared in the doorway with wet hair and a granola bar. She looked at the pegboard. She saw the metal between the wire strippers and the voltmeter. She did not say anything. She took a bite of the granola bar and leaned against the door frame and watched me sort a box of wire nuts for Monday's job. The metal is zinc. Garrett was right about that. It turns green at the edges. But it is hers. She earned it in 59.2 seconds on a Saturday in June against 43 runners on a rubber track that smells like chalk dust and effort. And the girl who wore it for 7 days before a cousin tore it off her neck is back at practice every Saturday at 7 a.m., running the 400 without looking at the lane beside her. Because looking costs 1/10 of a second, and she does not waste tenths. Welcome back to Family Secret Tales. If this story reminded you that the person who wires the building decides whose name is on the permit, and that a gold medal earned by a 12-year-old girl on a public track is worth more than 4 rental duplexes and a forged permit and $164,800 in combined income and a lawn chair with a Corona, share it tonight. Hit subscribe, drop a comment, and tell me, has your family ever destroyed something your child earned and expected you to stay quiet about it? I will see you in the next one.